He did the Monster Mash.
The Monster Mash.
It was a graveyard smash.
He did the mash.
It caught on in a flash.
The mash.
He did the Monster Mash from my laboratory in the Castle East.
Happy McHalloween, Perry High School. I'm Kevin McDougall.
And I'm Taylor McLaughlin, and this is the McMorning Show.
You're looking pretty fancy today, Taylor. What are you supposed to be?
Kevin, did you forget we were supposed to dress up today?
No, I dressed up. I'm a nerd.
Kevin McDougall, a nerd? No way.
You can just shut up, Taylor. But the fact is, I really was feeling like a nerd last weekend. I saw this movie, Paranormal Activity. It was horrifying. I was so scared. The movie theater was just packed, and as you can see here, it's a really simple film, and most of the shots just that right there. But it's just so scary. And the entire time, people are in the theater screaming and crying and laughing, and people were running out of the theaters. They were just so scared. And I was actually sitting next to Justin Eddy, and he's hiding behind his jacket, cringing. He couldn't sleep that night. I mean, all of us were just so horrified. It was crazy.
Wow, funny you should say that, because actually I went to see Saw 6 this weekend.
That looked terrible.
Same exact thing. People were freaking out, but it was bloody and just too much.
Well, if you're looking for paranormal activity, you may not have to go to the movies. According to our beloved teacher, Mr. Horniak, down at Edison Junior High School, there's actually paranormal activity in the area.
Yes.
He had to work at an elementary school one summer, and he had some very interesting stories for me earlier this week.
Take a look.
Used to paint in the summers, and this one particular school, the custodians told us of things that happened during the school year, like the morning custodian would come in and the burners would all be going full blast on the stove, and that happened several times. But my own personal experience, there was a time Mr. Bell and I, many of you remember Mr. Bell, coaches football over at Piper now, we were painting, we were alone, the custodians were on vacation, so we were the only two in the building. And we would have to go around at night and make sure that all the windows were shut, make sure no water was on. We would play horse during our breaks in the gym, and then at the end of the day, we'd go around, we'd hear water running. Where the heck's that coming from? Go down in the locker room, and the light would be on in the shower, and the shower was on full blast. It was so strange. It was as if we thought maybe there was a hobo, hidden out living somewhere in the school, and that he would disappear, when he heard people coming. But I've been told by other children who have had practice down there, and coaches tell me that, yeah, we have kids who will not go into that locker room. They just have a strange feeling, and they refuse to go down there, and it is rather strange. Also, another time we're painting, we hear water running. We go down into the lavatory, and the sinks, it was a long line of sinks. They were all turned on full blast, just about ready to overflow. One time we finished painting a room, we're walking out, I'm outside the door, and I was talking to Mr. Bell, so I turned because he was talking. He came through the door, and bam, the lights go on, and there were two light switches. Both of them were turned on. We stayed around trying to keep the lights, get the lights to hold where they would just flick, and they didn't. We couldn't get them to hold there. So some strange things happened there. We got in trouble one time for leaving a window open in a part that we never were. And so that's why we would check at night to see any water running, any windows open. So that's a quick one on that place.
Oh wow, Kevin, that was creepy.
Yeah.
But see, Mr. Mark Lyon, our head custodian here at the high school, said you don't even have to go to a middle school to be creeped out. Take a look.
Okay, spooky stories at Perry High School. Room 100, if you ever go in room 100, there's an office on the back side of room 100. There's a sink in there. A couple years ago during the winter, during a very cold spell, it was averaging about 10 below at night. My guys did a lockup on Friday night. Everything was locked up. Everything was fine. And so on Sunday evening, I got a call that we had a bad emergency at Perry High School. Come over, the office had basically turned into an ice cave because the window had opened. No one had come in the building during this time on the cameras or the fobs. and the sink faucets were both turned on, yet somehow the pipe still broke, flooded the whole room, and turned into an ice castle. So we've yet to explain who went in there and why water froze when it should have been running and not freezing.
Clearly, some of the staff here at Perry have a story or two about paranormal activity. Dark matter, ion detectors, electromagnetic fields. It can be a confusing topic. To get a scientific standpoint on this dark matter, Taylor and I visited one of Perry's excellent chemistry teachers, Miss Tabellion, for her perspective on paranormal activity. Thank you, Miss Tabellion, for being here today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Let's get started. Taylor, you had an interesting question.
Okay. Is there a scientific explanation for paranormal activity?
Well, I gotta admit, I was like the first person to run down to Columbus and see this movie, but watching it, I think that the evidence was really flimsy, and I think that's why there's so much skepticism in the science world, because there's no real way to measure this type of phenomenon. There's a couple ways, like if you watch Ghost Hunters, they try to come in from different angles, like with EVPs and with infrared like thermometers. Some of that's debatable, but I think as we're learning more about things like dark matter, dark energy, Bose-Einstein condensates, we're starting to see that there's possibly some explanations for all this phenomenon that lies in these areas that are mysterious. And I find that exciting because there's so many unanswered questions, and the more we find out, the more we try to pursue the truth, which I think is like the bottom line in all this, the more we're going to find out about why these things happen.
Well, you have a master's degree in chemistry from Youngstown State. Do you think that part of this might be chemistry related, that things, particles in the air, or things such as that?
I think as you get more down to the quantum area, yes, it is chemistry, but it's physics too. They go hand in hand. There's like little delineation between the two when you get at that level.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Tabellion, for coming on today. If you're still looking to get scared, here are some places that you might want to get spooked.
My surprise.
He did the mash.
He did the monster mash.
The monster mash.
It was a graveyard smash.
He did the mash.
It caught on in a flash.
He did the mash.
He did the monster mash. From my laboratory in the castle east to the master bedroom where the vampires feast. The ghouls all came from their humble abodes to get a jolt from my electrode.
They did the mash.
They did the monster mash.
The monster mash.
It was a graveyard smash.
Taylor, I don't think I have enough control over my bladder to handle any of those places like that. I guess many people just love being scared. If you're one of those people, you're really going to enjoy our closing clip. It was taped for a Scottish car commercial several years ago. If you look very closely at the car after it makes its second turn, you can see a faint outline of a ghost. Then you can decide if you think it's supernatural or super fake. That's all we have for you, Perry. Happy McHalloween. I'm Kevin McDougall.
And I'm Taylor McLaughlin. You have a great day.